Good morning, everyone. We are back at it with another and live and live in color. Just let me make sure we are on the right group. Nice, awesome. Okay, how we doing this morning? Hope you guys are having a great day. Let me know in the comments how your week is going. It's always nice to know. It's always nice to know what's going on, how people are doing. I like to start off with a moment of gratitude. That's something that we like to do on a regular basis. So if you'd like to comment, excuse me, if you'd like to comment below and let us know how your how your week is going, but what you're grateful for, that would be fantastic. Oh, for me, what can I be grateful for? There's so much to be grateful for. I think it's important to wake up in that moment of gratitude. They talk about this often, but I'm just talking about a few things that is a few things that you're grateful for. And that's it. Like it changes your entire day. And then sometimes, at least for me, I go back to like things that I'm not grateful for, and then I start listing more things I'm grateful for, and it instantly changes my mood. Good morning, Sandra. So I think it's important. I really do. I think it's one of those small things that people don't consider, and you hear it often. But there's some things that you hear often that you don't do, and once you start doing it, you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do that before? So happy Friday, Angela. Angela's always bouncing around with tons of energy. Angela, what are you grateful for? So for me, we have our, this isn't a selfless plug. We have our, Sandra says, I'm grateful for another day. That's awesome, Sandra. Thanks for sharing. Morning, Ed. Ed's grateful for a good cup of coffee. Awesome. So, we have our little black dress gala coming up, and I haven't run one before. Like I haven't run anything this big before. We used to do smaller events, and like 20, 30 people. And I haven't run like a dinner and a dance before, so it's slightly nerve-wracking. It's a bit more stressful than what I'm used to. I'm not used to high stress. So it's something that's been on my mind, something that we're continually working on. And last night we met with a, excuse me, a few of us met last night, and we talked about some extra details, what needs to be done, planning, and I'm feeling really good about it. And we still have a month to go, and we're expecting 100 people there, which is a big event for us. That may not be for other companies or other events, but for us, 100 people is a lot. So there's a lot of questions coming in. There's going to be a lot of things to manage, a lot of moving parts. So that was a bit stressful for me. And last night we had a meeting, and we cleared a lot of things up. So I'm feeling really good about it, and I'm grateful for the people that are helping out, because like that's something that, I mean, for me, maybe I'm a bit of a control freak, but I like to be able to, and it's challenging, right? So now we're hiring more employees because our business is growing, and it's like, how do you let go of so much? Like we already have Nick, who runs like all of the behind the scenes, so running half the business, and it's a bit nerve-wracking being like, okay, one person is responsible for a lot. So at any rate, it's the same difference. Like you have a big event like this, and you kind of have to let go a bit and let other people help out. And I'm super grateful for people that stood up. I kind of thought there'd be more people that wanted to jump in and be a part of it, but we have a small team that is strong, and I'm super grateful for them. So at any rate, I'll carry on. It's going to be amazing. Like a dinner, dance, like something to look forward to. Getting people together, excited, and yeah, I'm super excited for it. So at any rate, we're closer to that, and very grateful people that giving up their time. Time is the most valuable asset we have. So giving up that to help us out I couldn't be more grateful. And Angela says, Fit Fam, it boosted me to a new level. Awesome, Angela. We're super grateful for you as well. Nick just jumped in there. Nick already tagged everyone. So I want to talk about kids. Like we work with a lot of women, busy moms in particular, and then you have that's our main demographic. That doesn't mean you're not welcome. I feel like we haven't niched down in years. Like we have people from all over that have been following us for years. So just because you're not a mom or you're not specifically a mother now, or you may be a grandmother, or you may be an aunt or an uncle, whatever it is, like whatever you're coming in for. Like kids are such they're so powerful. They're absolutely amazing. I'm like every day I'm blown away by our little guy, who's like obviously he's changed our life, but he's growing rapidly, and you get all kinds of different advice and suggestions, and you got to kind of carve your own path. And I want to talk about that, and I feel like many of you will have some really good insights, and we always appreciate you sharing your opinions. And I've got my opinion and my experience as well to share as well. So let's get into it. Morning, Karen. So for me in particular, I'll get a bit vulnerable or open with you guys. Is that I wasn't necessarily present with my family. It's hard to say out loud in front of people. I work a lot. I enjoy working. I feel like it's a bit of an obsession. It's probably a drug that needs to be controlled for me, because it's easy to hide. It's easy to hide behind work. It's easy to hide behind tasks and to-do lists, and not dealing with whether that's emotions or not dealing with real things in life. Like, like how many of us, like most of the world right now, at least in North America, we hide behind social media, and we see all kinds of, like, we get all kinds of crazy comments. It's not really bad on Facebook. Like Facebook, I feel like I have a bit more control. That's the controlling part of me. If someone's like rude or obnoxious, I don't want them in our community, so I just block them, remove them immediately. And that's an easy one. But you see like YouTube and TikTok, we're on those platforms as well, and people are quite obnoxious, to be honest with you. And they're just hiding behind, like, you don't know, they could be 12 years old, they could be a grown adult living in the dark in a basement, like whatever it is. Like, you don't know their situation or their circumstance, and you don't know why they're lashing out or why they say the things that they do. But like we hide behind social media. Like many times people say things on social media that they'd never say to someone's face. So at any rate, that's a brief overview of where I'm at, and I'm starting to realize more and more how important family is. And you hear that, it's like cliche, right? Oh, family's the most important, and it's repeated so much that you don't even, like, most of us are numb to it. And I think understanding how important family is in kids in general. And I talked about this on one of the past shows, but I went to this $1 million mastermind weekend, and I thought it'd be more about making money. Like, okay, how are these people making money? How are they finding their success? And it wasn't, and this is how. Like, this is how is being more present in their life. And so many of us are completely disconnected to the world. I'll give you an example. Like, okay, our little guy, he's like super happy, and he's like super happy baby. He's like running around. He like likes to go and visit people. He goes and talks or babbles to like perfect strangers, and it's so cute. And we're in LA, and there was a strip, like, so there's houses, like big multi-million-dollar houses, like $20 million houses, like right on the ocean. So houses, and then there's like a boardwalk or a concrete path where a lot of people run, skateboard, bike, whatever. And then there's the beach and ocean right there. So it's quite busy. So at any rate, he absolutely loved it. He would run up and down. He'd run up and down and laugh and giggle. Some of you may have seen videos of him, of the back of him, and running up and down. And he would he'd kind of run up to someone. And it was so interesting. Like, I like to give him space. To be honest with you, I want him to have his space. I think people in particular need to deal with that. Maybe that's not the right opinion, but I think like he's a person, like he's his own being. I think parents kind of get in the way, to be honest with you, and like rush in there and like that's their space, or like he's not harming people, or he's not doesn't have any ill intentions. He just wants to like talk to people, see people, and it's quite interesting how people react. Like it cracks me up. I just like to watch, and I do step back and I kind of let them work it out themselves. And and some people are not really sure what to do about kids, or like, why is this toddler so close to me? And and then some people like talk, and it's so like it's often like the opposite. Like I would see like a burly type of man that I wouldn't think would be like warm and friendly. Those types of people are like, hey buddy, talking. And then you have someone that I may consider, in my opinion or my perspective, would look a bit more motherly, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing over here, child? So I like that experience. So maybe it's selfishly why I let it have him. But I feel like he should be able to have his own experiences even at a younger age. But when I'm talking about like we're so numb to reality, like he's running up and down this strand and he's giggling and laughing, and there's probably 50% of the people on their phone, like completely on their phone, like maybe I'd say maybe even more, 50% to 75% are on their phone, and they don't even notice them. And he's like he'll walk right up to them, and he'll like giggle and laugh, and sometimes he'll say hi, or he'll like wave like right in front of them, and they're like so in their phone. They're like they some people don't know he's there. Other people are like on their phone, they know something's there, but they're like trying to avoid him, and they're just staring at their phone. And it's just so apparent how blind we are to reality, because we live in this virtual reality. We live in this technology world where I don't think it's like it's not real. It's this fabricated world of perfect lives and what everyone else is doing, instead of looking at like what's in front of us. So that's number one. And I guess going back to that workshop I was talking about, is that a number of people, like a number of these ultra successful individuals, they told me, it was like, what was that movie, the Christmas movie? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? With Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge. He goes through the three phases, like a past, present, future, and he's in the future, and like he sees his future self, and like can't stand himself basically. And I'm thinking to myself like, okay, so these guys are on stage. The guy who multimillionaire, like very successful coach, organizer, business owner. He's up there. He opens up the night, like the the weekend was about building a better business, not building a bigger business. So he opened up talking about, like he opened up the conference in tears, talking about how him and his wife have separated. And I don't know why this is challenging for me to say, because it's open, it's public knowledge. Like he's not like he's hiding it. I don't like to share other people's news or information, but hopefully this is helpful to you. Is that he wasn't present with his family, and always pushing his business, push, and there was a disconnect there. So him and his wife now currently live in separate houses, and the kids are bouncing back and forth. And I'm like in tears listening to this. How like the kids are asking, why do we have to have two different homes? I don't want to go to mom's house or whatever. Like, and like I don't have any judgment around people that have separated, or kids that have grown up in separate homes. Like, I grew up as my parents separated very early, but I grew up with a very loving family, loving relationship with my mother as the main figure, and then my aunt and grandmother were there very close as well. But it was so hard to hear like that business. So like as an entrepreneur, and probably as like a business owner or employee, like you work incredibly hard. Like we're trying to build a better life for our kids, and I'm listening to this guy and talk about how he's been working so hard. He actually destroyed his family because he wanted to give them more. And the thing is that kids don't really need more. They need more of your time and we take that time away by doing other things like running our business, scrolling through social media, um, spending more time at work or volunteering or whatever it is. It could be good things that you're doing, but you're taking that time away from your family or your kids, and that's what they need. And my topic here is about building a better bond or better relationship with your kids, and that's where it begins. It begins being more present. And so that speech or presentation, like, that was really eye-opening to me because I could see my future there. Work from when I wake up to when I go to sleep. I put every message ahead of my family. I'm more concerned about my business than playing with my toddler. Like, it's not. I don't, in my opinion, seeing two sides of it. It's not the direction I want to go. Anyways, let me just say that. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. Now, in a similar conversation, or similar room, not too long after, I guess similar conversation would be correct. How are we doing right now? Let me know in the comments. How are we doing? Is this hitting home for anyone? Is this, got a quiet group out there. I know there's a number of you listening or watching. Is this resonating with anyone? So, okay, so from there, another guy turned around. We broke out into groups and we talked. Another guy said he was, I'm not sure how old he was. That doesn't matter. He said that his kids were grown. His kids were about 20, 25. He had two or three of them. And he said that if he had one regret, it was that he didn't spend more time with his kids when they were younger. Not just that, but he wished he was more present with them. And I thought, my gosh, I have the opportunity to do that now. Like, I don't have to, like, I could be that person that would regret that, but I don't have to be if I don't want to be, and I don't want to be. I don't need to be. It's not like I have to be in our business from when I wake up to when I go to sleep to make our business run. Like, business is different now. Like, before, we don't come from like a place of desperation. Like, business is going well for us, and I'm very grateful for that, but I don't have to sit in our business for as long as I do. I just haven't been present. So I'm making those changes, but it was so eye-opening to hear that from someone else. And he said my kids are, I don't know, whatever they were, 18, 20, 24. He said he doesn't see his kids anymore. He said as soon as they got a car, that was it. He said he sees them for breakfast sometimes, but usually they sleep in, and then he sees them in the evening for like 10 minutes. And I thought, how sad. I was very sad for him in that moment. Maybe sad for my future self to be like, my gosh, is that what life is going to look like? I know that's not everyone. I know that that's not everyone's life, or that's not everyone's perspective or experience, but for him it was, and I thought, I don't want that. So now is the time to be more present. And then the last example I'll give you is a guy that I mentioned this in a past show, but if you missed that, a guy stood up there and talked about, he won an award for breaking over 500 million, or 500,000 that year. And he said, like, this is another eye-opening for me. He said that I could grow my business more if I wanted to put more time into my business. But I have young children, and I don't want to take that time away from them. And I thought that was so interesting. Like, at least to me, that was profound, because most people are like, push, push, push. Like, most people that are obsessed with business. And like I said, it doesn't have to be just entrepreneurs I'm talking to busy moms. I'm talking to grandparents. I'm talking about those of us that put more time and effort into other things when those we love most are right in front of us. And okay, so here's the thing, is that I feel like kids know, like, it doesn't matter what age, like, they know if you're present or not. And I can, like, speaking from experience, I know when our little guy, like, we try to keep technology away from him, but it's like, you're still like kind of sneaking around, right? You're sneaking, checking your messages or answering a message, whether it's voice or any. They know, like, they know if you're present with them when you're playing with them. Or for me, like, I was a bit resentful. I was like, oh, I got to get this work done, and I, like, at this time I have to play with them, or whatever it was. Like, I felt like an early resentment, and then I took a step back and I was like, this isn't how I want my life to be. And here's the thing, like, as soon as I started, like, I changed that perspective and I changed that mindset, we started to develop a better relationship. And he loves his mom. They spend most of the day together, and they spend a lot of time together, so they're very closely connected, which is amazing. I love their connection. but I don't feel like we were connected that well. And of course, there could be a number of reasons, but for me, it's because I wasn't as present, and I want to be more present, especially at this age, because everyone, even he's a year and a half, and everyone will tell you that goes by in a blink, and they're going to be teenagers or in college moving away, right? And I don't want to regret that. I want to enjoy and appreciate every single moment. So my message to you guys is, it doesn't, like, I'm saying, some of you have children that are older, some of you have grandchildren, and some of you are in the exact same situation I'm in, and you have toddlers running around. Regardless of what it was, we need to be more present. And how can we do that? Like, that's a good question, right? And I talked about how most of us aren't living in, good morning, Nikki. Most of us aren't like in this, like, we're not present in whatever we're doing. Like, I talked about walking down the Strand, and so many people were, it was a bizarre experience, because you have, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful places in the world. You have pretty cool houses to look at if you wanted to. You have dolphins, often in the morning, are jumping in the water depending on the season. You have beautiful bright blue beaches in sand. And you have people looking at their phones having no clue what's going on around them. And it was such a bizarre experience. It was like an out of world experience, being like what is wrong with our world? And that's just like a, what's the scientific word? It's just like a microscopic, like, vision of what happens in most places in the world. Like, you're sitting on the train, right, going to your job, you're on your phone, not talking to anyone, not looking around, not communicating, not enjoying the sights, whatever it is. We're out of reality. It's the same thing if what was my other example? I lost it. Nikki says, "Hey, just pop it on here." Hey, Nikki, thanks for jumping in here. And Ed says, "Had to make a choice over the last few years to take a job to focus on at home school side of things. Decided to do school and don't regret it." Awesome, Ed. That's fantastic. Good for you. I don't think, like, how often do people say, I wish I spent more time at work and not with kids? I've never heard that. Or, I regret spending so much time with kids. I've never heard that. I actually listened to this interview, and this guy built a multi-million-dollar app, which they sold. So he had $10 million in the bank, and he said he spent many of those years building that app while his kids were growing up. And he said he'd give back every penny to get back minutes with them at that age. He said you can always make more money. You can always spend more time at work. You may as well spend more time with the kids now, and when they're grown and gone, that's when you can spend more time at work, right? And I know, like, where it's at. Like, I know, like, we have to make money and we need a job. I'm just saying, like, being present with your kids. Like, maybe you have a 9 to 5, but you're present in the morning for breakfast. And if you have a chance to come home at lunch, or you're coming home in the evening and you're actually present, not thinking about work like I was. Angela says it's a balance between spending quality time being present, also showing our kids how to be a hard worker so they learn that. Yeah, 100%, Angela. You gotta. They watch everything, right? They like a sponge, and it's so cool to watch them. Like, our little guy repeats every word we say, like the last word. So if we say, "Are you sleepy this morning?" he'll say morning. So, like, everything we say, like every sentence, he'll repeat the last word in the sentence. But what else did I want? I wanted to mention that, like, so spending that time, like, I, like, personally like to block off time now. Like, block off time, like, this is Harrison and Daddy time. We blocked that off in the calendar, and I did a past show. Excuse me, I did a past show where you can go listen to it if you like. But I talked about time blocking and how to organizing your day like a boss. And for me, it's like blocking your family time first before work. And I would do the same. Like if you want to spend time with your kids, um, and being more present with them, you block that off first in your week as you plan your week or you plan your month before anything else, because that should be a priority. Um, and just being engaged in playing games with them, asking, like listening to them. I feel like a lot of parents, in my opinion, tell kids what to do instead of listening to them and asking them what they want to do. And it's really unfortunate. Like it's so hard. And don't get me wrong. Like I'm not an expert. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just sharing my experience. Like teenagers, like the teenage years, like those got to be impossible as a parent. Like you love your kids so much more than anything else in this world. And like I know there's gonna come a time where he just wants to spend time with his friends. Like he's just gonna want to hang out with his friends, right? And then he's just gonna want to hang out with his girlfriend, right? And then he's gonna get married and have kids. And then, and we want that. Like I want that for him. I want him to be happy. I want him to have his own life. Of course, I want him to be connected. But you have those families that are like, I don't want that for you. Like I want you to stay close to us. Like don't leave, don't move out, or don't get a girlfriend, or whatever it is. We want you to stay here, and we want him to be independent. And as difficult as it's going to be when he starts traveling, we want him to start traveling and see the world, because it's such an eye-opening experience being able to travel. But it's just the little things we talk about, like when we talk about, work with a lot of moms that say, oh, my kids don't like this food, or they're really picky, or they won't eat this or that. And that really begins, like it begins at an early age, like as early as possible. That's number one. And number two is getting them involved. And I feel like that's the thing. Like a lot of times we hear or see parents, they don't want to bring their kids to the grocery store. They'd rather leave them in the car with an iPad, or leave them at home with other kids or babysitter. And that's fine. I don't have any judgment around that. I'm just explaining, like they need a better connection with food. Like they need to understand, like Ed has a farm. Ed actually was super beneficial for me over the last year or so, helping me with my bees. So thank you for that, Ed. But like Ed has a farm, for example. So having the kids help out with bees or around the farm, like there's a better connection there with food, in my opinion. Many times, like I grew up in the city. Fortunately, we had a garden, but a lot of kids don't have a garden, so they don't know what it's like to plant seeds, or to grow them, or to water, or to harvest. Like there's a disconnect there. So the more you can get the kids involved, like you take the kids to the grocery store, for example. That's important. Give them like ask them what they want to do, like or what they want to purchase. Then have them help out in the kitchen. Like a lot of times, like we're so busy with life, right? We don't want a distraction, or we don't want the kids in the way. But if you have those kids, like that can be quality time. Like every night is homemade pizza night, or every night. I heard from one of our clients, like the kids had 3 or 4 kids, and they all got to choose what they were eating that night, and they helped make it. And then they did a rotation every week. There was something different there. So if the more you get the kids involved, the more they're going to want to be involved, and that can be present time. And then like sitting there scrolling through your news feed while the food is while the food is cooking, like that's not present time. That's not building a bond. That's not building a relationship or a connection. And I feel like we're only hurting ourselves by not making that a priority. And I feel like that's going to translate to later in life. Like the earlier you can have those connections and build that bond, the better your connection is going to be. So maybe when they're a teenager, they're not going to never want to spend time with you. I don't know. Or maybe they're not going to move out as soon as they can. I don't know. Maybe you want them to move out. Excuse me. I feel like we live in a slightly different, I feel like we live in a slightly different world. I feel like when I was growing up, or many of you watching, when we were growing up, it was like as soon as the kids were of age, they get out of the house, or the parents would want the kids to move out of the house as soon as possible. But now it's like kids want to live at their parents' house, and whatever. You could talk about the lack of jobs or work ethic, or you could talk about the increase in cost of everything, so they can't afford to go anywhere. But that's for a different subject. But I feel like now it's quite different. Like kids stick around more than they did before. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you feel like that's a accurate comment. It says bang on, and we talk about where the food comes from. You make it, learning skills and connections. Yeah, 100%. And that's, I mean, that's where it's got to come from. And you see a lot of these, um, we see a lot of different concerns with kids, like maybe behavior, for example, or maybe it's ADD, or I think like when I was growing up it was ADD, and now it's ADHD, and I feel like, and and then we have like, and the kids won't sit down in their desk, and they come to school with a whole bag of sugary treats as their lunch, and they don't have breakfast. Like, it's just a disconnect in my opinion, and it's not being present with what kids need and want. And we mask it with medication, we mask it with technology. We're not present with our children. um, we don't think of ways to spend time with them. Like, we need to think of more ways to actually spend time with them instead of ways to spend time away from them. And I feel like that's a big concern. And you can look at, like, when I talked about playing, like actually playing with them, like sitting down on the ground and playing with them. Another one is like removing technology. That's such a tough one. Like, and it like drives me bonkers. It really does. Like, we traveled quite a bit here this last little bit, in and out of hotels and restaurants, more than usual. And there's TVs everywhere, and we don't have a TV here, at our home. Not to say we never have screen time. Of course, we have phones and computers or laptops and such, but it's not like a centerpiece for our house. But when you go to a restaurant, there's TVs everywhere, and we want to be present for our family. We try to keep phones aside, so we're not checking our phones. And you see, how often do you see that? You would be hard pressed to go to a restaurant and not see a full table of everyone on their phones. Um, when it's like, when you're like, who are you talking, I always think, like, who are you talking to, or who's more important than that's at that table there with you in that moment. um so at any rate, when we go to restaurants, our little guy, he's obsessed with the TV, and I don't know if it's because he never sees it or sees it very rarely, or if it's just a thing with kids. Like, they get like obsessed with technology, right? And so I've asked the many times, whether that's at a hotel or at a restaurant, I ask them to turn the TV off, because he's sitting there staring at TV when we're trying to have a conversation, or we want him to be present with him eating and communicating. And he's like watching the TV, and I'm like, why does that TV need to be there? And it's even worse now. Like, it's not like one or two TVs. Before, like when I was growing up, there's like one big TV that people kind of watch, kind of like on the airplane, right? And now it's like, there's TV, there's like, you look in one direction, there's 6 TVs you could watch, and there's something different on each channel. What do you think a kid's gonna look at? Sandra says, you want to be your child's primary attachment rather than having their friends be their primary attachment. It starts with making intentional special time with them. That's awesome, Sandra. Thanks for sharing that. That's yeah, that's the advice I was hoping for from that you and Ed are sharing here, is that it's possible. Like, and like I said, I feel like there's that disconnect of, a lot of times we have kids acting out, or kids that aren't connected to their parents, and it's because it was like the whole latchkey thing, right? Like, you never saw your kids, parents were at work all the time, kids let themselves in. And I know that maybe it has to be like that in some cases, but and as parents we do the best we can, but it doesn't always have to be like that. You can be more present. Like, instead of, like, sometimes we see, like, you pull out a phone, a computer, tablet, and the kid is looking at that, or like the adult is like, here, look at this. Like, I don't feel like that's being present, and I don't feel like, that's just my opinion, I don't feel like that's offering a solid connection, a solid bond. It's like we're watching TV together. I don't know, like, what you're teaching. Maybe you're not teaching. Like, but that's the part of, like, the masking or hiding behind social media or behind a tool. So I feel like that's a little bit different than building blocks or playing cars. But at any rate, I hope that was helpful. I feel like I just wanted to shine some light on the subject, share with you where I'm at, and hopefully it's been helpful. Like, for me in particular, I've noticed a clear, like, from getting away from, like, from being like, this is our time, and changing my mindset of my kid's not in my way, or my wife for that matter. My family's not in my way trying to build a business. Like, I need to be present for my family so I can have a well-rounded life. Like, building your business, that's only one part, or working in your business, or being an employee, whatever that is, that's only one part. And then you have to look at, if that's not a job or particular, like if you're a homemaker, for instance, like that job is harder than any other job out there, but still being more present as often as possible. And I mean, how often do we see parents just sitting there scrolling through their news feeds? Like, we would go, okay, we're in LA, and there's this big park, beautiful park, better than any park I've seen around here. Unfortunately, beautiful park. And here's the thing: so often you would see nannies with kids. It was a more prestigious type of area. People had lots of money. Affluent, is that the word? They had lots of money. So there's usually nannies taking care of the kids. So so here's the thing: is that often the nannies would be playing with the kids, right? So you'd see that sometimes the nannies were on the phone. And here, like, just to be 100% transparent, they're often Mexican, so you could tell that the kids may not necessarily be theirs. And also, you have conversations with them, and you talk about them, and they say, "This is mine," or "This is so and so's." But at any rate, for that, and then when you see like those, you see on the weekend, there's less nannies, right? It's quite clear. And the parents are there, and the parents are sitting there on their phone more often than you'd see a nanny. And it was like, you don't get to come to this park all week with your kids, right? You're working, you're only here on the weekends. And like the same parents start to come. You get like, it's a smaller community. It's a big city, but a small community. And like in LA, people don't drive too far. Everyone stays in the same place because everything's there that you need, and takes too long to get in traffic to get too far. It's like a running joke. So everyone starts to get to know each other, and then you talk and such. At any rate, you see the parents coming on the weekend to take the kids to the park because the nanny's off, and the parents are the ones on the phone, not playing with the kids while the kids are running around the playground. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you have limited time. Why aren't you more connected? So, at any rate, I'm gonna leave you with that. I think there's a couple more comments, and then I'll let you go. Ed says it shows how the program apps are designed to get their attention. You or their attention. It's not a habit that the kids form. It's out of their control. We often see, we don't even realize it. Yeah, I mean, that's right on, Ed. Like, it's built, like that's how it's built. It's like Toucan Sam. There's a reason he's on Fruit Loops, is because kids are attracted to a talking cartoon bird, right? Tony the Tiger, like that kind of stuff, like that's what we grew up with. It's not like it's planned. And that's what really bothers me about that industry, is how they market to kids. Like McDonald's, a big giant clown. Come on, they know what they're doing. The same thing with apps and technology. Like Angry Birds, like they're trying to gamify so you get connected, like deeply connected to games. Like, what's that, Minecraft? Oh my gosh. Like, I have friends, kids, that's all they want to do all day long. And I'm like, and they have to like pry it out of their hands. And I'm like, that's why now. And like, we might have family or friends that like don't understand why we don't use phones, or we don't want our kid to play with a phone at this age. Because the longer they have that connection, the more deeply ingrained it is, and the more addicted and obsessed they're going to be with it as they grow. And it's not like he's never going to have a phone, but he's not going to have a phone as a 2-year-old. I can guarantee you that. Probably not as a 5 or, I don't know, 10-year-old. I'm going to keep it away from as long as possible. And I can deal with the judgment, and I can deal with the comments, because he's ours. And there's a certain way we want to raise him. And we understand, I feel like we understand what a lot of people don't. And that's just being present in this world and understanding what's going on, and how so many things are negatively affected by the decisions that we make. And that's not to say I have any judgment on any parent or any person. I honestly believe that parents, like most 99% of parents, do the best that they can. And this is the hardest job out there, in that we always feel like failures as parents, no matter how hard we try or how hard we work. and so whatever you're doing, however you're raising your child, like that's your thing. That's up to you. We live quite differently and we make different choices, but we're okay with that. And hopefully that shines some light on the topic and maybe building a stronger connection with your children, and just a stronger bond, a stronger link, not just for now, but as you get older. And like I hope I get a chance to throw a baseball with our little guy, and I hope we get a chance to work out together, and I hope we have that, like, I'm still not sure, maybe Ed, you could help out. I'm still not sure, like, that fatherly role, like I'm not sure if, like, being your, like, kid's best friend is the best way to go about it, because you're still trying to help them grow and be their own human, and I think you need a bit of discipline and structure, but I don't know. I have to experience that before I could have a better understanding. But at any rate, I want to work out together and do cool things and adventure. So I think that starts now, or as early as possible, building that bond and being present, and having that communication. At any rate, thank you all so much for being here live, that are tuning in. If you're watching the replay, we appreciate that as well. And if you're checking this show out on our podcast on exploring mind and body, we appreciate that as well. If you guys want more, if you're listening, if you're watching here live on our Facebook, we have a complete podcast that I've been doing, radio show and podcast I've been doing for 10 years. It's our best kept secret, apparently. You can check us out on any of your favorite podcasting platform if you're driving, or if you're working out and you want to check out some more topics similar to this. And those of you that are listening, we're streaming live on Facebook right now, so you can always come in and check out our communities, our online communities, to see more of what we do. I feel like my voice is completely tapped out. It's been a lot of coaching this week, and we did 2 lives, a lot of coaching and a lot of meetings. So I'm looking for a little bit of a break. I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break from talking, and having some family time this weekend. So wishing you all a wonderful day, fantastic weekend, and thanks for being here. We'll catch you later.